There's a lot to talk about in Georgia politics always. I think a good place to start here would be this. The new session is a couple weeks underway. When you look at it right now, what are your biggest priorities?
Well, obviously, the priorities are a lot. It's always about balancing the budget first, and then we look at things like healthcare, transportation, education, but this year it's a little different because our big focus is going to be on from the Hurricane Helene, the counties that were affected by that, the counties and cities that are affected by that. It was quite a number of those, and we were still focused on getting more relief dollars to them and allocating more resources to those communities, because it was a transition. I mean, it was a devastating storm that has changed a lot of people's lives for years to come.
How long is the cleanup process and recovery process going to take?
Well, they got the essentials as far as power and water and everything else, but there's still areas and communities where trees still and debris needs to be cleaned up, and then you got to look at particularly for your ag business, what the long-term consequences of that storm are going to be. So, and that those are numbers that probably haven't been fully realized as of yet. So.
I know another big topic that's gotten a lot of attention, and understandably so, this year is school safety, particularly following the Appalachia High School shooting late last year.
Right.
What's your plan to address that?
Well, it was 2 years ago. I actually was the first one to come out and say, look, we've got to do more to beef up the security at our school systems, because they're very vulnerable right now. And the legislature and the governor backed an effort of us putting over $100 million towards school safety measures, quite frankly. But we were going to give the locals the flexibility to either hire law enforcement officers or put in automatic lock doors or emergency calls into the school. We're going to be flexible and let them do it. It's going to be in a grant program, and we implemented that, and it wasn't long we had the tragedy at Appalachia. And obviously that being a father of two teenagers, that I can't imagine receiving a phone call from someone saying that a shooting has happened at your child's school. And so that is going to be a focus where, again, to put more dollars towards that, but also be flexible with the local school systems. I think the local school boards and the local school administrators are the best ones to determine what kind of securities they ought to put in place. But it's moving forward. That's going to be something that we're going to continue to put resources towards and helping out with.
It seems like, if I'm hearing you correctly, a big emphasis of yours is, as you put it, beefing up security on school campuses and continuing to beef up security on school campuses. At Appalachia, as I'm sure you know, school resource officers were on campus that day, and still that horrible shooting happened.
Right.
Do you think there is any need to, in any way, restrict access to firearms in Georgia, too, to help further protect our schools?
Well, first let me talk about those resource officers. I mean, literally, Appalachia, it was a terrible day, for us, but they were doing a lot of things the right way. They had resource officers. They worked with their local sheriff's department. They had automatic lock doors at the school in case of emergency. And, because they had those in place from the time the first shot was fired, and the child was put in handcuffs. It was literally a minute and 20 seconds, and that unfortunately we lost four individuals that day. But if it had not been for the bravery and the quick response of that resource officer, it could have been probably a lot worse. So, Appalachia is one of those that you see them and how they were going about trying to protect their children, and that is something that it was a horrible day that day, but what they are doing and what they continue to do hopefully will ensure that that doesn't happen again. One of the things we are going to put forward is a mechanism where all the school systems can talk to one another. As you well know, this young man came from Jackson County. He was having problems in Jackson County. They left and they went into school went to the Barrow County school systems, and they should have known about it. That school system should have known about it, and so we're going to have a system put in place to help track that. Look, on the gun issue, you know, you need to be responsible. We all want responsible gun owners, you know, and you should be a responsible gun owner, especially when you have teenage children in the household. And one of the things we are putting forward, and in fact we passed it last year. Jason Amvishardy had a lockbox bill that passed out of the Senate that would encourage people to get lockboxes. To you know, be safer when you have children there. So
I'm curious, in Georgia in particular, but in a lot of states around the country, there's a really strong pro-Second Amendment group that really supports firm adherence to a real literal reading of the Second Amendment. Georgia has a really powerful and vocal kind of pro-gun constituency that traditionally supports Republicans like yourself. Does that constituency make it tricky for Republicans like yourself to address gun legislation at all when you're here in the state capitol?
No, I don't think so, because I mean, we're all about responsible gun owners, you know, and we're all about having law-abiding citizens owning and being able to arm themselves. And you know, in a situation where if you have children, you know, you as a parent take on a larger responsibility of basically educating your child on the dangers of a weapon, on how to handle one, and also keeping them out of reach, you know, in a situation where, you know, they don't maybe not have the maturity level to understand what you're teaching. You put it away. So, but I don't think it doesn't affect my decision. I'm a big Second Amendment guy. And I believe in responsible gun owners, and I think majority of Georgians are responsible gun owners. But you know, it's you know, you have bad actors in any industry, you know. But you know, let's always we're focused on safety. We're also, you know, want to protect law-abiding citizens and their rights.
Well, let's shift gears to another big topic that's actually very germane today, as we're taping this interview on Thursday, and a bill that I know you have championed here in the state legislature is up for a vote in the Senate today, right? That's SB 1?
Yeah, it's SB 1. That's a bill that really it's been percolating around the Capitol for about 3 years now. Senator Greg Dolezal's worked very hard on it. It's just simply saying, you know, boys can't participate in girls' sports. It was a measure that we actually brought forward 3 years ago.
And in particular, just to be, I hate to interrupt, but just to be clear to somebody who might be picking this interview up in long form, this bill focuses on keeping kids who identify as transgender out of the sport that they identify as, and restricting it to their sex assigned at birth, right?
Yeah, that's right. But biological children playing in their designated either boy or girl sports, and it's for high school and college age young people. But this is a measure that we had 3 years ago. We passed it. We put it in the unfortunately, we put it the responsibility and the obligation on the Georgia High School Association, which I don't think was fair. And so,
did they not do a good job with that?
No, they did a fine job in it. But as legislators, you ought to be able to take the tough votes and not punt, you know, those tough decisions to, you know, the educators who are just, you know, enjoying the sports of athletics. So I thought that we should put it in statute. I was in Washington D.C. yesterday at the executive order that President Trump signed, and our bill models basically what his executive order says. But this is a measure that, you know, we're serious about. I'm a father. I've got a daughter. She's very athletic. You know, I would hate to know that she was cut from a team or loses her spot from a male student that was trying to, you know, play in a female sport. So yeah, I'm pretty passionate about it, just because of I believe in protecting the integrity of girls' sports.
How many trans kids are playing sports in Georgia right now?
You know, there have been a few that I've heard about. In fact, you know, I was at a private school game just recently, and there's, you know, a little boy playing in middle school, a little boy playing on the girls' basketball team. So you have seen it. It is a very small number. I realize that. I don't like these cultural wars that we end up in a lot of times down here at the Capitol, but they are sometimes are necessary because of a group, you know, a far-fringing group that wants to push it as an agenda and keep pushing it on school systems and everything else. So that's why we go ahead and take a strong stance on it.
I think there might be some people who watch this, and I'm sure they'll hear what you're saying, and they'll be nodding their heads as they're listening to what you're saying. I know, and you know too, that there are going to be other folks who have pretty different views on this issue. Mm-hmm. For the kids who are, as you said yourself, it's a pretty small percentage of Georgia athletes, but for those Georgia athletes who identify as transgender, for those kids who are watching this legislation move its way through the Capitol and may be concerned, maybe feel singled out, what would you want them to know?
Well, you know, like I said, it's not trying to marginalize any individual children. You know, that's the last thing we want to do. But it is trying to protect the integrity of female students, you know, and girls' sports. That's something that, you know, at one point in time there was a group, a lot of feminists out here that fought really hard for Title IX to come to pass, and it was to try to treat girls' sports equally and fairly, and that's similar to this debate that we're having right now. This is threatening the integrity of girls' sports, whether we like it or not. You're seeing it in high schools, you're seeing it at college level, you're seeing it even at the Olympic level. So that is, you know, that's where we are, and you know, I don't shy away from wanting to, I feel like, do the right thing. That's protect the integrity of female sports. Are
you confident this bill will pass by the end of the session?
Mm-hmm. I am, yeah.
Let's zoom out here and close here. It's 2025 right now. In politics years, those things go by really fast.
Yeah.
It feels like we just had a presidential election, and we did, but that campaign season stretched a long time too.
Yeah, it was. It was a long campaign season.
You have closely allied yourself with President Donald Trump. You were just in D.C. for the signing of this executive order. How do you think his new administration will impact Georgians?
Oh, I mean, you know, I think people like what they're seeing. I mean, he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. He's putting the American interests first. He's being tough on. He's a big law and order man. He said he was going to shut the border down. He just shut the border down. He said he was going to get all the illegal, you know, individuals that came here to our country from all over the world. They are doing that at a rapid pace right now, getting the most dangerous ones first, and he's being tough with a lot of our competitors and adversaries around the world, and I don't ever see. I've been a big supporter of Trump since, you know, 2016, and I've never apologized for that, because his interests should be the interests of the American public, because we're being taken advantage of on a global stage. Is in trade, number one. We have a huge trade deficit with China, Canada, and Mexico, just to name a few. And when you're talking about wanting to be energy independent, want to be, you know, food, grow our own food, manufacture our own goods, and put all, you know, American citizens to work, I think that is something that will be beneficial, not just to the state of Georgia, but to the country as a whole.
Do you worry about tariffs impacting Georgia producers, whether they're farmers or workers in other industries at all?
No, because I know exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to get to a level playing field, meaning, say, if Canada's buying, if Canada's importing $50 billion worth of goods to the United States, but they're only buying $10 billion worth of goods from us, well, that's a trade deficit, and we need to make it more equal. If we're gonna buy $50 billion worth of goods, then they need to reciprocate, and that's essentially what he's trying to get to, and he's using the tariffs because we are their biggest customer, and that's why he knows he is in a strong position in doing that, because everybody, you know, a lot of the media want to talk about, we're worried about the consumer here in the States. Well, they're worried about their customer and their best customer, and I guarantee you they will fold their tents, and he will end up getting what he wants for the American people, which is lower gas costs, groceries, and a fair and equal trade system with other countries.
You're clearly paying attention to national politics. You're paying attention to local politics, because you'd expect from the Lieutenant Governor of Georgia. There's a lot of speculation about your future.
Yeah.
Are you going to run for governor in 2026?
Well, I pay attention to all this stuff because I'm in business for myself, and I know exactly what the last 4 years had looked like as far as trying to run a business, with the cost of goods and services and just the cost of doing business. So that's the reason why I can speak on how these the trade deficits that we've been experiencing affects businesses. I'm going to look at it, in 26. I'm going to finish out this session as Lieutenant Governor, because it's my job, it's my responsibility. That's what people elected me to do. I'm not one of those politicians that's always looking for the next gig. They elected me to be Lieutenant Governor, so I'm gonna do this role right now. But there's no secret that I'm looking at 26 in the governor's race, and we'll see where the chips fall. That's always one of those big decisions that I need to get my wife's input on, and the kids, and just in my individual business as well. So, but I enjoy being in public service. I enjoy serving the people of Georgia, and if there's another role for me out there, then it will make itself clear to me, in making the decision. So.
Sounds like you're strongly considering it, at least.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's not. I don't hide away, from it, but. I leave the door open for a lot of things. That's how I operate. I like to have options, and I like to also, look at. It's no different than a business deal. You look at what could be, what's your strengths, what's your weaknesses, and if the timing is right.